Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another edition of Breakfast with Kimberly. But this edition features a special guest. I'm going to have George Lee on. All right. So before we really get into it, there's a couple of announcements. One, y'all are always asking me about what I wear, what I have on my body, what I have in my home. So I did finally decide to go ahead and sign up for Pinterest. And I'm obsessed. I'm addicted. I'm going to link my Pinterest down below because now I'm obsessed with getting followers. So, I mean, it's just my name, Kimberly Nicole Foster. Follow me there. I'm going to try to link everything my clothes, my jewelry, people who follow me on Instagram, shoes. I don't know, doing real influencer stuff. Okay. I don't know, but y'all be bothering me. Do not bother me. Go to the Pinterest. And then finally, I decided I want to do an in-person book club. We are assembling all of that stuff for DFW. I am open to book suggestions. I am leaning toward like newer, and stuff that is written by either a Black woman or a person of color, or you gotta have some kind of marginalized identity. Okay. That's it. Also, if you have suggestions for venues where we could have it, because it's not gonna be in my house, girl. Love y'all, but no thanks. Generally, if you come across mess or interesting stories, feel free to email me at live@forharriet.com. You know where to find me. Let's get into it. Hi, George. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
All right. So, first of all, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me, George. It's good to reconnect. We've connected before.
Yes. It's mutual.
I have sent you over a list of just hot topics that I want to discuss. One of my favorite things is I think that pop culture is a great conduit to having deep, robust conversations about society at large. And so that's why I love trash, but I also love cultural commentary and analysis. So I thought you would be the perfect guest. We're going to talk about Kanye. We got to talk about Kanye. Like, that's the theme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while I was laying out what the agenda was for today, I was really thinking hard about how to approach the Kanye conversation because, of course, I don't want to participate in reproducing or amplifying the things that he said. So I did make the decision to not play any clips here. But if you've been paying attention to Kanye over the last week, he has been spiraling in anti-Semitic, misogynistic, anti-Black ways, and it just keeps getting, I mean, it's building
Worse.
on each other.
Getting
Yeah.
worse and worse.
Yeah.
And more sporadic too.
Yeah. The first thing that I wanted to talk about, there's a couple of things. So, I guess I'm a controversial Twitter figure because I just every other day I'm getting dragged on Twitter. I'm gonna be honest with you, I live for it. I got dragged a couple of days ago for saying that it is not uncommon for Black men to be radicalized when they are on their way into conservative Black man politics, Hotep politics, right leaning, but not explicitly Republican politics. And you made your own content about how that happens
Yeah.
and how you evolved out of that. And I would love for you to take a minute to just go through what the link between that political transition is and how you were able to, find the light.
I mean, the I feel like the link is you prioritizing anti-blackness and prioritizing the struggle of Black people. You know what I'm saying? And thinking the various ways and trying to build up your awareness of the history of how Black people have been exploited, taken advantage of, and things like that. For me, it seemed like once you are able to link, you know, Jewish community to slavery, Jewish people at all in any way, shape, or fashion to slavery, that's where it seemed like, you know what I'm saying, people, I feel like I found it easy for me specifically. I'm speaking from my personal experience. I felt I found it easy to slide into some easy anti-Semitic speaking points. Because once you're able to be like white supremacy, slavery, Jews been able to benefit off this, I feel like it supercharged it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I seen it, right? For me, how I was able to get out of that, or how I was able to really feel like become reflective and think about the various ways in which I thought about affirming my blackness as a black man, and how my affirmation can't come at the expense of nobody else, man, be in my community, out of my community. I started thinking about, really, it was Joanne Morgan. And when the Joanne Morgan, when chicken heads come home to roost, if I'm being
Mhm.
real, that was the piece of work that made me think about some shit. You feel me? Like, I think she had said in one part of the book, like, I felt like a slave of a slave. And for me, when I thought about Huey P. Newton, when I thought about Stokely Carmichael, them the people that I really looked up to. Them people I really, you feel me? When I heard about them being critiqued, you feel me, for their masculinity, or for it, no, it's nice for their masculinity. When I found them being critiqued for the ways they were dominating black women in their proximity, that's what made me start thinking differently about, you feel me, masculinity, manhood, the black man, this, that, and the other. And that's how I started to slowly start to learn more about intersectionality and Kimberly Crenshaw and all that.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. There's multiple things can be true at once. And I feel like that's where the Kanye anti-Semitism conversation is getting tripped up. It is true that Jewish people of all races, contemporarily and historically, are targeted for identity based violence because they are Jewish. That is a thing. There's documented cases
Yeah.
of anti Semitic violence, people being killed, people being harmed, people being maimed, and anti Semitic speech contributes to that. That is true and an indisputable fact. It is also true and an indisputable fact that Jewish people who are white or have white skin or can opt into a white identity can participate and do participate in anti-blackness, right? Like discrimination, race-based discrimination that impacts the lives and livelihoods of Black people,
Facts.
and we are fine, justified. We have to call that out when it happens. Both of those things are true.
I agree.
It does not help me as a Black person who experiences anti-Blackness and misogynoir and all that stuff. It does not help me to participate in anti-Semitic speech, because the link between like capital W, capital S white supremacists is they at 1:30 p.m. they will say Jews will not replace us, and blood and soil and the globalist agenda and Jewish people run the media. They will say all that. Not, I mean, this is gonna be demonetized. I'm just saying it to illustrate YouTube, right?
This is for
That at
educational
1:30
purposes only.
p.m. the US Nazis, the white supremacists, will say Jews will not replace us, and they will get all that out. And then at 2, they'll call Black people nasty, ignorant, inward monkeys, right? Like that is the connection, right? Like the idea that Jewish people have all of this power is a very centuries old white supremacist talking point, centuries old.
Oh,
And the idea that Black people are inferior, that we are lazy, that we are that Black men in particular are rapists and lust driven and violent, that is also white supremacist talking points. And it does not help me to participate in one set of white supremacist talking points while trying to refute the other set of white supremacist talking points. That is my issue.
agreed. It makes no
All right.
sense.
That is controversial.
I mean, it's. I feel like it's controversial because nuance whooping a lot of people asses nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's just that. It's just that simple, really. It's just that simple. Because recognizing two, three things can be true at the same time causes a little bit of emotional labor and intellectual labor to do. Some people don't
Yeah,
want to do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure where this discourse began on social media, but Jewish people are not white. Oh, okay. So, oh, this gets into
I
like
think,
such
hey,
like,
hey, this is what I referenced in my video, though. I
Yeah.
had a very educational conversation with two people of the Jewish diaspora where we got into the diversity and the multiplicity of Jewishness within the Jewish diaspora, right? So we recognize that my homegirl, Shakina, you know what I'm saying her name right, she does diversity inclusion trainings within the within the Jewish community, specifically about anti-blackness and white supremacy, where she will have white Jews talk about not being white because they're Jewish. And she literally talked about this. This is also on my podcast where I'm talking with a black Jewish woman and I'm talking to a white anti-Zionist Jew. You feel me? And we're talking about literally the nuances within this particular community. So thinking about, you know what I'm saying, there are also Jewish Palestinian people. There are also, you know what I'm saying, like we literally got into this conversation. It took like 2 hours damn near. And I would encourage people to go to watch that conversation so you know that me and Kim not just being two niggas or two black people on the internet just talking crazy about something that we don't know. You know what I'm saying? I feel like through us speaking, it should be very obvious that we are both well-read niggas, you know what I'm saying? And we not just speaking out the side of our neck. So do us a favor and don't insult our intelligence, you feel me? And keep it groovy like Austin Powers movie. And to be clear, and to be clear, we're not saying that all Jewish people are white. We obviously are not saying that. We're saying there is a multiplicity, a diversity within this community. And within this community, there is a hierarchy of white over black, light over dark. That is undeniable. There is a Black Lives Matter movement within Israel. All these things contextualize.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go the follow up. Jewish people with white skin, white appearing, and white racialness can be anti-black racist. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing about this, right? Is that you know, the Toni Morrison quote that keeps going viral, like the very function of race is to be a distraction and to keep us like explaining. But yeah, I think it's really important to understand that like the fungibility of race, the malleability, the way that it is always shifting, the way that the boundaries are not concrete, that they're ever evolving is really important to consider here, particularly when we're talking about the US context. I don't want to say that I am speaking for Jewish people, but just as a person who has spent a lot of time trying to understand anti-Semitism, because I did not grow up as an Oklahoman. When I went to middle school in Texas, I truly did not grow up knowing a lot about it. I have a degree in African American studies. Honestly, even in that program, didn't learn a lot about anti-Semitism. But as I have gotten older, I've decided to invest myself more into learning it because the process of racialization that Jewish people have undergone for centuries is really illustrative for how we are, Black people, where we are today. And so they are not Anglo Saxon, they're not like WASPs, right? They are not, they were structurally marginalized historically in the United States. But like Irish folks, like Italian folks, Jewish people, Irish people and Italian people are more they are unambiguously white now, but Jewish people do occupy this kind of liminal racial space where sometimes they are welcomed into the fold of whiteness and other times they are targeted for anti-Semitic, right? And so
Both of
that
these
is
things are
how,
true.
yeah. And so because it is so sticky and not concrete, right? Like that is why we are always like over explaining and trying, because yeah, it is really, really, and sometimes, you know, I have experienced Jewish Karens. I will say that. I definitely have, right? Where that whiteness definitely jumps out. That does not mean that they are not subject to particular identity based anti Semitic violence. That's, I mean, it's in my mind sounding really complex, and it is complex, but I feel like that should be obvious. Am I making sense? This is making sense.
That's just that's I feel like we gotta always stay grounded in what is commonly known and what is normalized. And I think that, you know, we come from a position of privilege when we think about the way that we have access to academics and the way we've been immersed in academics. And it's
Yeah.
become almost second nature to us because that's what we sit around and think about all the time. You feel me? So for me, what I recognize, for me moving back to Texas, being where I'm born and raised, I've I feel like hit with reality checks all the time about what has become normalized in my everyday perspective about race, class, gender, ability, and sexuality, and really peeping game that is really not. Because if you think about it, what we're talking about right now is Kanye West. A lot of what Kanye West has said in his half truths and a lot of what he said in his literal outright pathology is making it where common everyday people that hasn't read what Kim read, that hasn't read what George, or consciously read, you want to like, and make it easy for you to sell it to them.
Yeah.
That's what's scary about what Kanye West is saying and what he is doing. If you've seen the amount of individuals from pro-black spaces that were being like, oh yeah, when Kanye West is saying about Jewish agendas and this, that, and the other, you see what I'm saying? And for
Yeah.
me, like I said at the end of that video, it's like what I learned is that if I say some shit and white supremacists agree, I should go back and reflect on what I just said.
Yes. No, yes. And it's like one of the big things when I made that viral tweet where people were coming for me for 72 hours was I'd be like, okay, Kanye is repeating anti-Semitic tropes, like Jewish people run the media, like Jewish people have all of this global power, like Jewish people own all of the banks. And people would be like, how is that anti-Semitic? It's true. And I'm like, you guys, wait. The reason why we don't repeat those, like, first of all, not true, but also the reason why we don't repeat those ideas is because those are the ideas that have been used as justification for the historic extermination of Jewish people. Like, that's why it's anti-Semitic. And I am anti-Zionism. I've said this many times, right? Like, so this is not me endorsing the policies of the state of Israel. No,
Yeah.
free Palestine.
Hey,
It
the word
is,
I like to use, the word and term I like to use, Kim, is racial illiteracy.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? People are really illiterate. They lack the ability to read and write situations when it pertains to race. Therefore, when you're criticizing anti-Semitism or you're criticizing the Israeli occupation of Palestine, many people conflate those things and they're and sometimes indoctrinated to, because I would argue that racial illiteracy is a part of the Western world. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn whether you America, Canada. I feel like racial illiteracy is a part of it. And specifically when we start talking about Zionism, anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, I feel like it's just festers there. And I think that it also shows based off of us being able to acknowledge our blind spots in these conversations, you feel me, and how we've had to move forward with them. And that's why I feel like there's Nazism damn near sprinkled into, you feel me, our social fabric. So you'll
yeah,
have pro-black people speak saying, brother, that'll literally
yeah,
be like, you just said some shit that the Nazis say in your
yeah,
dashiki. You just said a
yeah,
you just said a Nazi speaking point. You feel me? Dashiki down with your locks and your unchained. So what does
yeah,
that mean? What does that
yes,
mean now? How do we unpackage this? And for me, that's when we start getting at it. You feel me? To me, that's how we start getting to it. That's how I start learning about solidarity and coalitions and recognizing, yeah, all these things can be true. We can recognize that during the civil rights movement and prior to that, there are a lot of intimate relationship between black resistance and Jewish resistance. You see what I'm
yeah.
saying? And there's also intimate relationships, you feel me, between, Jewish and slavery. But all these things are true, and I feel like we can be able to come to the middle with accounting for them. That's how I came to it. You feel me?
All right, let us move on to the next topic here. Okay, I thought that transition was going to be more real, but that messed up. Okay, next thing I wanted to talk about with regard to two more things. One is Kanye's misogyny. I have said, oh, Kanye's so misogynistic, and people are like, what are you talking about? How can he be misogynistic just because he doesn't want his daughter to be a stripper? Just because he's being a good dad by talking about keeping his 3-year-old child off the pole. And I'm like, y'all don't think that's weird? Y'all don't think it's weird? Like,
I
to
think that's
talk about
weird.
like your kid who can't even read being a stripper? I find that to be really creepy and extremely rooted in the worst kinds of misogyny. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what that is. But what I know also, using that, go back to that literacy, it's like gender, to me, gender illiteracy make it where a lot of people can be cool with benevolent sexism that
Yeah.
says that shit. If as long as I'm trying to protect, I can justify doing anything I want to in the name of protection. And I think that so many people, when we orient towards safety of women and safety of girl children, are able to deploy a bit benevolent sexism, because it's like, yeah, bitch, I'm trying to protect you. Shut up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my girl been on this, or like Ti saying this is daddy protection now, prevention now for the this, that, and the other. Because I'm being real, when you was talking, I'm thinking of Kanye West saying, "I'm a sick fuck. I like a quick fuck. I'm a quick fuck." I'm thinking of all of the quote unquote sexual things that he said. That's also very misogynistic. That he didn't have no issue with somebody's daughter swinging from a pole too. But now we're thinking about his daughter, and I feel like that's how sexism works. Usually, it's like, man, I can do it to them over there, but this girl over
Yeah.
here, that's my
Yeah.
daughter. Ah.
That is the thing about, yeah, people are like, George, you have bars. Yeah. I think that is the thing about, I am so fascinated when people make the argument that we are just living in this radical feminist society where men can't have anything, everybody hates men. And I'm like, people love patriarchy though. Like, are we living in this radical feminist society where women get everything and women are on top, when
Bullshit.
people love the idea of a father being like trying to exert as early as possible control over his daughter's future, imagines sexuality? Like,
I just think that I feel like, to me, this particular conversation lights a fire up under my ass, because I have so many. I feel like just suckers. That's what I'm gonna call them, suckers that come at me in so many weird ass ways about misandry, about men's right activism, about feminism, about women, particularly black women, being more represented in, what I'm saying, college graduates. And it's like, listen, fam, from goddamn East Coast to the West Coast, you see women talking about, you feel me, reproductive, you know what I'm saying, justice. What does it mean for you to say now you're being oppressed, but we literally have women fighting for their life right now? You see what I'm saying? So for me, it's always just really annoying. You feel me? Especially when we seen the proliferation of the plantation patriarchy podcast punks, you know what I'm saying? With them talking about whatever the hell they can think of, regurgitating whatever they heard in that church's pulpit. Kevin Samuel said this, Andrew Tate said that. It's literally like a full-blown posse. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So for me, it's like, how can you think that? And for me, it's just recognizing the same thing that white folks. Like, when white people think that CRT is making them oppressed, or white people think that coming down of a statue make them oppressed, it's the same thing of me being like, well, Kimberly Foster went to Harvard and I didn't, therefore I'm oppressed. Nigga, what?
Yeah. Right. But I wonder, I guess maybe when I think of the work that I do, I recently came across an Instagram post that was a screenshot of a tweet that said, "Oh, I'm a cultural worker. I'm not necessarily an activist, but I think that I do things to facilitate conversations, to make art, to provide resources to help people think deeper, think more clearly, elucidate their thoughts, expose them to viewpoints that they haven't necessarily seen before." And I really like that idea of, I am not an activist. Activists have very dangerous job. They have a lot of skin in the game. I would never from my place of privilege be like, oh, this is like, no. But I do think that there is a lot of importance in cultural work. That is the reason we're both Bell Hooks fans. R.I.P. And I know that reading her work, engaging deeply with her work, helped me see the world differently. And hopefully the work that we do can be an underground railroad of sorts to guide people to new and better and different ideas.
Yeah, I concur. I can dig the distancing from activism and activists, like being an activist. How I usually say it is like, I don't see myself as an activist. I'm an educator that does
Yeah.
activism. I think that, activists, you feel me, is in the trenches every day. You
Yeah.
feel me? I don't think that you have to be in the trenches to be an activist, but I think that it's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And I recognize that I am not there. But I
Yeah.
also recognize that, you feel me, because I advocate so vigorously for change socially and politically, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? Definition of activism, like, I get it, right? Um, And that's pretty much how I see it. Really, just like I get it. I think that being in social media space and being in what we being into, because I feel like I would identify the same. Like I see me, I do culture. I really I brand myself. I'm an educator. I teach. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But I recognize how people can see the activism within my education or within what I do. But I recognize the slippery slope in the unique criticism that goes with wearing the activist hat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you can keep that. You can keep that. You feel me? Like I got respect for activists. I got respect for activism, but I don't want to wear that activist hat because when you think of George Lee consciously, you feel me? People get weird, especially when it comes to I feel like socioeconomics
Yeah.
in every instance when it comes to activism. It's like I peep that. I can dig that, you know. But that's and you know what I'm saying? I peep the
Yeah.
footwork.
I
I'm
mean,
good
I'll be
on it.
honest, I'm not trying to get arrested, but I will gladly, and I have bailed people out. Like, I will gladly give you so much money. I give to mutual aid funds. I've given to like 10 charities, 10 groups in DFW. Like, I think I have resources. I am so happy to share those resources. I'm really trying to go to the prison though, but I understand that there are people who are called to do that, and it is our responsibility as people who are deeply invested in making a new and better and different world to give what we can. I happen to have a little bit of extra money, so that's what I can give.
Yeah. I mean, kind of the same thing. All I would say is I never see myself doing something to go to prison. But shit, me and my wife keep some bond money ready. You feel me? Because it's just like I ain't playing them games. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I come from like what my mom and my daddy. You know what I'm saying? I come from a long line of people that been to jail. So it's just like if that's what if I I will not be shooken, you know what I'm saying, by like that. You feel me? Don't get me wrong. I'm looking to come home to my wife and my kids every night, every day. You feel me?
Yeah.
But it's like that's not. You feel me? Certain things is like I will not be gaslit, fear mongered about some like nah. I got my bond money ready. I see you in court.
I'm
That's
trying to
how I
think, is
live.
there a situation where I would risk being arrested? There are situations. There
I
are.
know me this how I am. So I just, you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I'm always, you feel me? I'm a schoolboy. I grew up in the hood, but I never was a street nigga. I'm a schoolboy. You feel me? I'm the one that they looked after in my hood. You feel me? But listen, I'm not with the games. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man. I'm 31. I'm not, y'all got a wife and kids and things to lose, but there are particular principles and particular things that I would probably not bend, break, or fold on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
The
that's just
last
what
thing
that
I wanted
is.
to
Like,
mention here, just I did watch some of that Drink Champs interview, and one, like, Nori is just a mess. Two, something I did think was really interesting was how Kanye repeatedly calls Kim his baby mama. And I just think that that is so interesting because I remember when they were married, he was on this whole thing to legitimize her as a mainstream pop culture respectable, powerful star. And he did that by marrying her and calling her his wife all the time. Wife, 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 not baby mama. This is my wife, and she stands beside me. And we're on the cover of Vogue together. And now that she filed for divorce, now every chance he gets, he calls her his baby mama. And I just thought, oh, the white women are not exempt. The white women are getting the baby mama treatment. Like that is, and it's so like intentional. And that's why I'm like, y'all keep saying this man crazy, but that is so calculated.
Kimberly. White women been getting the baby. That's listen. You from Oklahoma? I'm from Texas. I spent time in Oklahoma. I spent time in Texas. You feel me? And let me tell you something. It's a lot of struggling white baby mamas that can tell you right now that they didn't been right. How I see it is, it's a mixture of two things that what Kanye West is doing. It's a mixture of the Omarosa, come back to me, y'all. I messed up. I'm sorry. Here goes some things I'm gonna throw out to show you that I apologize. I'm not who y'all thought I was, and mixed in with the, you know, also come back sucker solidarity. I have, you know, alienated myself from a lot of quote unquote real niggas that I still want to be cozied up to. So I'm gonna use your jargon, you feel me, to try to come with you. This is the reason why I think Kanye West is so dangerous. It's because he has the particular way of appealing and being persuasive to niggas while being parasitic to niggas. You feel
Mhm.
me? Like one day he can say, "Hey, black people, we should boycott Gap because they doing us wrong," and the next day say white lives matter. You feel what I'm saying? And the danger of that, because to me, it's like what Nori did and what he said to me is like I have a lot of respect for him. I'm a younger black man, he an older black man, but the action that he did, the action, not the person, but the action that he did, that was some sucker shit. Not only was some sucker shit, it was some shit that was almost opportunistic that made it where your brother is having a spiral down. And you believe that your brand of drink champs is more important than the livelihood of this man and his kids and his baby mama seeing him. So you felt like you running it up and getting more views than the NFL, Cowboys versus the Eagles was more important. That's wild. And to me, that's the same black fungibility that white supremacy does. If I can use you in a way where I don't care about your mental health, where I don't care your livelihood, I don't care about how it's gonna impact your kids who you say you care about. Niggas say Kanye West your friend. My guy, you gave him weed and alcohol at 8 o'clock in the morning while he's going through a international spiral down. I think that, listen, for everybody watching this, if you claim you cool with Georgia Lee consciously and I'm having an episode, if you fucking put me on camera inebriated and you know I'm going through it, you a hoe and a half. You know, if you from down south, you know you a hoe. That's it. You a hoe. Like at that point, yeah, like what, man? Ain't no way in hell. You my homeboy, and you got me on TV saying wild shit at your expense to my detriment. Come on now. And then Candace Owens and shit she pulled. Oh man. So this supposed to be your brother. You feel me? Now you false advertising talking about Parler is the first black owned app. Goddamn, we got Blammer fam and fan base been black owned. It's just like you have been, y'all are taking advantage of this man. You're taking advantage of this man.
Okay, so I think yes, and I think that man, Nori has been doing a an apology tour of sorts today.
Oh
He went
shit,
on
because
the
he know. That's why he know enough to recognize that what he did, even watching it, is so jarring. It's like, hold on, he said this about George Floyd, and you had a laugh. You had them big ass beignets in your mouth, smiling and laughing, hitting the blunt and drinking. Cuz, what is you saying? What is you doing, bro? And then you have all this audacity when that nigga leave.
I
I don't know,
mean,
man.
there is something about being so desperate for the click, the view, the clout, the notoriety, it's that you're a grown ass man and you are jumping, leaping at the opportunity to exploit this person who is clearly, I do think that things are happening mentally, but
For sure.
also he has this pattern of destructive, dangerous, violent behavior, and you want to aid and abet that.
Oh
What?
yeah.
Like, there's something really sick, I feel
And
like,
his
about,
response wasn't good enough to me. Like when
yeah.
he's asked the question on Breakfast Club, so these people took him down and these people took him down. Why have him on the show? Nori's response is that he might have been an asshole to them, but when he's good to me, I can you know I can say this and recognize there may be a time that I have to eat the sword. But if you have a model of accountability and responsibility that says that I cannot hold somebody accountable or responsible until they do it to me, that's a bad mode of responsibility and accountability.
Okay, we can transition out of Kanye West conversation. Now, the last time we talked, we had a little conversation about your social media life and your career, and I thought it was super, super good. There were some issues, so it's up for the patrons and whatever. But you said that I could talk to you about you being a very strong, conscious Black man, thoughtful, racially aware, read all the books, who is married to somebody who is not Black. And I wanted to ask you about it
Yeah, I said
because,
racially ambiguous because I feel like she's black. You know what I mean? Her mama's black. She identifies black. She's a black woman. Say black on her. You know what I'm saying? Everything. But I recognize that that is not
oh, she
a
does have a
great
Black
strong
parent.
opinion. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
1000%.
visually, I did not identify that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kim, let's be honest though. I recognize you asked me that. You see what I'm saying? I recognize you asked me that so I can give you the response, right? I recognize that if you go to type into Google and you type in consciously and you see consciously wife, or you go to Twitter or YouTube, I know that the next search thing to my name is wife, right? So when people see my wife, they don't know. They like, who is this nigga talking about this pro-black shit that's married to this Asian woman, that's married to this Latino woman, that's married to this white woman? And I just think, me and my wife both laugh because we both conscious enough and we not stupid. We Southerners. We both born and raised in Texas. You feel me? So I'm not scared and or gonna act brand new to the criticism of black men with status being with either a non-black woman, or B, a non-dark skinned black woman. And that's what I said. You see what I'm saying? And I recognize that every time I get new followers every day on every platform. So every time I post my wife, there's always people in the comment section like, I knew it. They always this. It's how it always. I should have known. And to me, I because I debate and because I'm confrontational and because I really ain't scared of nothing, I'm open to having that conversation. I think there's a conversation to be had. You see what I'm saying? Like, is there a pattern of black men of status being with non-black women or non-dark skinned black women? Yes. Do I link to the criticism? Yes.
Okay. But you've been married for a minute.
Yeah, I've been married for 7 years. 8 years in June. Yeah. Yeah, we've been together since I was 17. Since we were 17, we 9 days apart. You know what I'm saying? And we've accomplished a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Through the ups and downs of marriage, we here. You feel me? That's baby. That's my life partner.
Yeah. And also, something I do think is interesting. I just had this conversation. Again, this is on Patreon with a creator named Halise, and her husband used to be a nurse. And yeah, and he now works for her company. And I am so fascinated by the idea. And I've said, like, my life would be a lot better if I had a partner who could hook this shit up for me. And so I'm fascinated by, you were making videos, making content for a long time, not making money, just dedicating yourself to this for years. And your wife was there being like, yeah, you can do this. It's fine that you're taking all of this time away from me and your children. Do it. And now on the back end, she gets to reap the rewards of you being consciously.
Facts. Yeah. That's it. That's like literally. There are a lot of sacrifices my wife has had to make. You feel me? For me to be in the position I am right in. As a matter of fact, my wife worked last night. My daughter is in outside of my office right now. My wife is with her right now for us to make this interview possible. You see what I'm saying? So for me, when people start talking that shit about my wife, and sometimes it's valid criticisms about, hold on, dark skin, this, that, and the other, I just think about the material impact and the material reality that we live in. I'm not one of them type of niggas that's gonna say a whole bunch of colorist, anti-black shit to justify who I'm with. You ain't gonna never find no camera. You gonna never find it. It don't exist. You see what I'm saying? And you never gonna find my wife saying some wild, crazy shit about dark-skinned black women, or her mama dark-skinned black, her sister's dark. You know what I'm saying? So you feel me? So we are always privy to the insight that we have to our consciousness, and we always interested to see how people respond to us.
So you completely understand, like, when black women are like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. I'm obsessed with your content. You've taught me so much about global anti-blackness. And then they say, oh, but then I saw that was who you're, like, you understand why they might have some feelings.
Hell yeah. I think that I feel like, man, me having the racial consciousness and the racial literacy that I have, I would call that resentment or racial resentment or resentment, whatever you want to call it. I think that shit justified though. I think that if you have trauma and if you have trauma and marginalization and exposability and disposability around a particular thing is going to cause resentment. As a black man, I can recognize the music that I digested, the movies that I watched, the shit that I recognize that I grew up in a colorist world. So if you link to colorism in any way, shape, form, or fashion, I reckon, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You feel me? So for me, I try not to have a knee-jerk reaction to those criticisms.
Yeah.
And I try not to gaslight black women, you feel me, when I'm hit with those, I met with those criticisms. Because I feel like I wouldn't be being real.
All right. I just wanted to talk about that because I think there's a conversation about how our politics manifest. And I do think that I've always said that partnership is political. Do you think that partnership is political?
I am. Definitely.
Oh, okay.
I think, yeah. Yeah.
And so of course that, links back to the, the Kanye conversation and how he is, for years, not just chose to marry a woman who is not black, but actively degraded black women and dark-skinned women and marginalized them. Like, that's a different thing. You're not a Kanye. I'm not trying to make that parallel, but like, it's not uncommon. All right. I also wanted to talk about the fact that it is divorce season. We have seen the big thing was Tia Mowry and her husband Corey Hardrick got just filed for divorce, and there's been a series of other divorces, Nazanin and Miguel and all of these other people. I think I heard
Tom Brady and his wife, Tom
reality
Brady and
stars getting
Giselle.
divorced.
Yeah.
And people are like shocked and horrified when long relationships come to an end. And I, as a single ass woman, I mean, I have some feelings about it, but I wanted to get your thoughts about the natural evolution and progression of relationships as somebody who has been long-term, seriously, happily partnered. Happily,
Yeah,
I don't know your life, but I assume happily partnered.
Yeah. I think that whenever you commit to be with somebody for the rest of your life, you really thinking about the worst, like getting the worst of that individual and still being able to love them. Most times in terms of human relations, when you get the worst of some person, you can negotiate how much you want to be around them or negotiate how much you're going to stick around. Most of the times when you think about marriage, you have signed up in many instances to really see a person for who they are. Good, bad, ugly, and man, beyond, right? So for me, it's just really being able to have that sense of understanding for yourself in the world to know, like, shit, if you marry a person at 25 when y'all 31, it's gonna be a little different. You feel me? Y'all not 25 no more. You feel me? And recognizing that, the way that people evolve, regardless whether you're with somebody or not, we always changing, we always evolving, and we always transcending. And when some people has been together for 13 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's very jarring for us. I feel like a lot of times because sometimes we vicariously live through other people's relationships. Mm-hmm. And or we will have hope for a relationship based off of the standard somebody else has given us. You feel me? What I find the most unique about the Tia and Card is it's this Tia, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Tia and Chadwick, Hardrick, whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Tia and them is that
Corey.
they have a very private relationship. So I'm really seeing how people coming up with their own, narratives and their own analysis about why that relationship broke up. And it's very interesting to me to see that people are still coming up with their own theories. You feel me? And it's just like these people ain't told y'all nothing. You know what I'm saying? All we know is what they chose to share to us on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you're basing your entire analysis off of what an individual selectively showed you based off the narrative they wanted you to see. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I see a lot of pathology on both sides. To me, I see a lot of pathology on. I feel like a lot as a black man, I can recognize when we fucking up and it's crazy, but I also can recognize when I feel like it's some fucked up shit happening to us. And I think that what they doing to this brother in many instances is really caught up in the black brute, hyper masculine, I can't keep my dick in my pants type shit. And I feel like because you don't have anything and you throwing all this at the wall, to me, it means something. It means something about the mysteriousness of black masculinity and black men make it where you will come up with the wildest shit, even though You know what I'm saying? You ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then for her, it's I think about the the idea that black women have to struggle to be loved, or the idea that black women have to be ran through the mud to this, that, and the other. And it's just a lot to unpack for both of them. That's the only one I'm gonna be keeping it real with. I really just sat around and thought, like, it's interesting. The Nia Long and whatever what you call it is, to me as a black,
Ime
as a
Udoka, I think his name
Doka,
is.
Ime Doka. To me as a man, I look at it like this, man. Beyonce got cheated on by Jay-Z. Holly Berry got cheated on by Eric Benet. You feel me? These the two women that I grew up. I'm 31. I grew up in 1990. They grew up. I grew up. These women were valorized as being like the gold standard. What I recognize is that with man in status, the way patriarchy is codified, of what I would say, is that if a man has any status, you're always already negotiating what you can get away with this status in a relationship to acquiring other women, like fucking Pokemon, gotta catch them all. You see what I'm saying? Because in terms of power and domination and status for men, that is always already a part of it. No matter how conscious you is, no matter how holy sanctified you is, we see it. We've seen the most righteous and conscious and holiest man with status and stature go through all type of scandals. I think that there's a relationship between a proximity to women and being able to illustrate your power and or luxury. Ran
Yeah,
over. I'm
no, no,
sorry,
no,
Kim.
no, no. This is true. I think that there is a way to comment on things that I think is responsible, and there's a way to do it that's irresponsible. And I agree with you. The complete fabrication of these narratives about who did what or who was where or who was cheating is irresponsible. Literally, neither of these people has said anything. Now, when people do get, you'd be like, oh, but I don't know. And I would not make a video of being like, he cheated, or I would not make a video about whatever it's just not right. But also, people are bored, like, so people are just gonna run with whatever
Yeah.
narrative suits their own, like, really narrow ideological agenda. I will say, when I was getting my hair done last week, we were going through Tia's Instagram. Actually, I
Speculating.
might pull it up. And she does have these new, like, posts, like, more recent posts about I'm getting back to me and this is me season. And she's done like these little red carpet interviews where she's like, I'm just glowing. And I'm like, I love that for you. I don't know what that means, but if
Yeah, I don't
you
know what
are
that means
feeling
either.
like your best self, I love that.
Yeah, I can speculate, you know what I'm saying? But I know what that means. I'm a married man. I've been married. I know that wives and mothers uh have identity erasure. That's how I would say it. You know what I'm saying? Where you only become your relationship to other motherfuckers. And I know how you feel me. I've read and talked to my own wife and other married women and mothers about how you feel me. One can lose themselves in titles that's not based off of I am Kimberly. Now I am a wife and I'm a mother, and I only get to be a wife and a mother, and I never get to be Kimberly. Like, I
Yeah.
recognize like what that means. And I think that, for some women, not saying this is to her at all, but I know that there are some women that get tired of the mundane everyday, like this title and being able to get to self.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know what that means. You feel me? And I know what it means to be a, yeah. I let it
Yeah,
go.
I
I let
mean,
it go.
but also the other thing about the Tia and Corey situation is they met in 1999. Like, like what? Like, that is insane to me. Obviously, there are
A
lots of
lifetime ago.
I mean, there are many long-lasting decades, long-lasting relationships that are happy and fulfilled, but also, who were you in 1999? Who was I in 1990? Like, it is just such a long time ago that I can also completely imagine you just being like, I just feel
I think it's the
I,
confirmation bias to me. I think the reason why people be outraged is because a lot of people have in their mind confirmed that marriage is astronomically worse than what it used to be in terms of how your mama and granddaddy, great granddaddy, this, that, and the other. And I think that when people do that, you really do what like white people do and like white supremacists do, and with the trick of time, you feel me? You start to really play with time and create these romanticized, sanitized narratives that says that because in the 60s and 50s, black marriage was the rates was so much higher that the black family structure was better. And it's like, well, your grandma couldn't own a bank, you know what I'm saying, make account without what your granddaddy. Your granddaddy had 5 families across town. You feel me? Your grandmama was getting the ass whooping. There's just like a lot of things that we sanitize and romanticize when we think about then versus now. And I think that when we see all these long-term relationships breaking up, it confirms how much bad we believe. You feel me? I'm almost just like, you know what, Kimberly? If these women's just started doing this, that, and the other, and look at this, they don't even know how to be wives no more. That's the reason why they leaving us. That's the reason why 70% of marriages is being filed by divorce by women, because women don't know how to be women no more. Treat me like my mama used to treat me. So, to me, that's a part of that echo chamber and a part of that narrative. Because you and I know, in terms of doing research, we can look at a particular statistic, and based off of the epistemology or based off of the perspective you come from, that's going to literally dictate how you understand that statistic. You know what I'm saying? And for me, if I'm coming at it from a weird ass, like, man, black community bad now. Back then, mama and them used to do. You gonna confirm some stupid shit.
I think okay, so this was my hot take. I'm not sure if I might not have tweeted this. This might have been a group chat hot take. But my hot take, oh no, this is behind the paywall. That, divorce is good. Okay? Because I think obviously we love, we want people to be happy. There's nothing better than being in love. But being able to make the decision that you've changed your mind, you want different, maybe in some cases you want better, to have that severing of ties be relatively amicable, or in the case of somebody who is well resourced like Tia, right? Like she, the idea, there's this manosphere or whatever, conservative man idea that men don't need to get married because after you get divorced, she's gonna take half and you're gonna, and it's like, actually, no. The majority of women, after they get divorced, get plunged into financial ruin. They get plunged into poverty, right? And that's how you know that marriage sucks, because women are saying, I would rather risk my financial future for the rest of my life than remain in this partnership. But for somebody like Tia, who is not going to have those concerns, she gets to say, okay, I want something different for my life, and my quality of life doesn't have to be upended, and neither does my children, and we can just, move in divergent directions and still co-parent and hopefully live relatively happily.
Yeah, that's what we hope for. That's what we hope for. That's what we hope for. And I think that that's what you was getting at a little bit when you was using. I mean, when you was kind of acknowledging Kanye West deploying of baby mama talk. We recognize there's a level of expected dysfunction when we talk about, you feel me, baby mamas and baby daddies and baby mama drama, and it's like the connotation of the word it literally carries that, I would argue. You see what I'm saying? And I think that that's a part of the outrage jarringness of everybody being like,
yeah, I think, oh yeah, this is an interesting juxtaposition, right? I think that with the Kanye, him intentional using the verbiage baby mama, it is to degrade her, right? Like to make sure, because he has this whole thing about, I put you on and I raised your status and I introduced you to all of these people and I made you rich and powerful. And so I did that via your contractual connection to me via the institution of marriage. And now you have decided to opt out of that institution. So I'm going to do everything in my power to take back all of that social credibility, that social proof that I lent to you, including not referring to you as my ex wife, the person that I entered into a contractual and social arrangement with, saying no, you don't deserve that. You deserve to be degraded into baby mamahood.
yeah, it's very intentional. I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's very intentional. He know what he doing. He know what he doing. You know what I'm saying? You can tell that him and Kim Kardashian has had a lot of back channel conversations unpacking that word. And I feel like he like gaslighting on the outside using like insight. Like, you know how we can have an inside joke? To me,
yeah,
it's feel like a lot of stuff that he do, it seems like it be calculated. And I think that that's the reason why I think that a lot of us in society right now is sliding into some ableist, you know what I'm saying, type shit, in the way that we try to rationalize and or give sense to the shit that he doing. I feel like
Yeah.
we do it through a lens of disability, and I feel like a lot of times that feeds into ableism. Because it's like, hey man, if you're a bipolar schizophrenic, that does not mean you're going to be misogynistic, anti-black, or anti-Semitic. And really thinking about like that doesn't mean that. So we recognize there's a relationship between his sporadic ways and how he's keep on going about it. But it's like for me, it's like thinking like, man, this was in you already, bro. You just had a better filter because you knew better. You feel me? When your mind is all the way where it's supposed to be at, to not say what you really feel. But this really how you really feel though. And I think that just me being consciously George Lee, hey, let's not ignore that this is coming from a place that didn't come from the sky, it didn't come from the ground. You feel me? This motherfucker feel that way. He feel that way. You
Yeah.
feel me? He feel that way. Like you got to really think about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like think about it. He repeated what a lot of us was ready to knock white people out for, saying George Floyd didn't die because of the police. He died because of fentanyl. That nigga was on drugs. He got up there with his whole chest and said it multiple times. So what I know is that first of all, he don't watch TV like you and I. He don't consume anything like you and I, because if he did, he would have known better. He don't. You feel me? And it's like really recognizing what a lot of free thinking, cisgender, heterosexual black men that's Yeezy down from the flow down, that's gonna be like, nah, he a billionaire. How you broke motherfuckers gonna tell a billionaire how to think about some this, that, and the other? And it's like we already heard it all. We
Well,
already heard it
also,
all.
and somehow we are back on the Kanye thing, but also there is something about
My
his
bad. We can
association
veer
with
off. We can veer
Candace.
off. My bad.
Oh, and no. The idea of he was like, oh, I watched the Candace Owens documentary, and this is what the Candace Owens documentary said. And it's like, this is why literacy is important. This is why media literacy, we got to be teaching it, because I'm not sure if he would engage in it even if he was exposed to it, because we forget that his mother was a English professor, chair of the English department. But that he is quoting as fact things that come out of a right-wing propaganda anti-black documentary, instead of citing other sources, consulting other people, engage. I
I didn't
mean,
take it
that to
deeper
me
than
is
that.
just insane.
I even took it deeper than that. It's like you now taking the same inferiority, superiority complex with people that follow you that Republicans do to their constituents. Now
Yeah.
you insulting the intelligence of the people that rock with you, telling us, hey, that 8-minute video you seen, you didn't really see that shit. It was doctored by the, you know what I'm saying, by the media. And if you look at it from a different angle, man, he didn't really have his neck, his knee on his neck like that.
Yeah.
They
But
fitting all them. It's
also,
like, what?
we're still here. I also think about how if Kanye had repeated misinformation about a dead Black woman, would there be so much, or disinformation because it's intentionally wrong? Would there be so much rallying around, how dare you, this is horrible, this is wrong? Like George Floyd, we all
No,
decided.
Kimberly, no. Like, answer that question. No, shit. Like, listen. The hashtag say her name. We know that the significance of it was the silence of Black women dying to violence. May it be police, usually police violence. You feel me? But just violence. So recognizing that Black women are not respected in many different instances in life. It's like, so you better not expect more respect you got in death than you did when you was alive. You see what I'm saying? And for me, that's how I see that. Now, again, I know I'm a pessimist, you know what I'm saying? But that's how I would think about it being real, keeping it a stack. You feel me? It's been a lot of people that have said a lot of crazy, wild things about Sandra Bland family, Sandra Bland psyche, and shit. I ain't no people really, you know what I'm saying? But I think that to be clear, I know people gonna watch this and be like, y'all know some divisive shit. What we recognize is these are obstacles that get in the way of how we are able to have a collective unity and collective understanding of how violence happens to our community. So when I recognize the uniqueness of say her name hashtag, it is an acknowledgement that this type of violence to these type of people is usually not a part of the centering and how we mobilize in our community. So when she asked the question, do I think a black woman being disrespected in death the way that George Floyd is disrespected in death would mobilize? I'm not trying to get into some white supremacist divide and conquer gender war bullshit that y'all always accuse my name in. It's really thinking about what are the reasons and or what are the things that come in between us becoming together like this. The Say Her Name hashtag was something that was supposed to bridge the gap with recognizing the black women and recognizing, you feel me, the black community and how these things be disconnected. I had to get an explanation because you know how people be playing us. You feel me? Like,
Yeah,
y'all
no,
trying to
I think
divide
that
the
that
black
is
community.
important. I at this point don't feel the need to give those to hedge in that way, but I completely understand why you would do that. I'm just used to being dragged over this. But
You're an OG, that's why.
I've
You're
just
an OG in
embraced
this.
it.
I'm new
But
to it.
I think that
So
that
I'm
is
still,
an
you know what I'm
important
saying?
it's a useful clarification, right? Because obviously the George Floyd conversation, like I said, like all of these things are connected, all of these conversations is connected, and I feel like what we are doing is putting pieces together in order to what we are doing is piecing together all of these little things to hopefully enrich conversations, enrich narrative. So, anyways, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me. I appreciate this so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah, The Consciously on all social media platforms, theconsciously.com, THECONSCIOUSLEE, The Consciously on all social media platforms. Man, I got a book on the way right now. I got a online class about identity politics. And, you know, I got some merch. Holla at your boy if you want to support the hustle in any way, shape, or
Oh,
fashion.
well, that concludes this edition of Breakfast with Kimberly. Thanks so much to Consciously. Appreciate him. Email me, DM me any mess that you see live at forharriet.com. I will try to incorporate it. Look, you got to accept me however I show up. Sometimes you're going to get sexy Kim. Okay. Sometimes you're going to get cleavage Kim. And sometimes you're going to get Silk Sonic tour t-shirt Kim. Okay. All right, that's it. I will see you guys later. All right, that is it. Talk to you later. Bye.